Welcome everybody to another episode of the Pierce Brothers. Today we're doing our follow-up video to our most versatile handguns video with our most versatile rifles video, or best all-purpose rifles. So I guess all-purpose and versatile kind of go hand in hand. Obviously it has to be something that'll meet the purposes you need a rifle for, and then also be versatile in other categories. So we started with Porter last time. We'll start with Dad this time and roll down to Porter.
Yep. Sounds good to me.
All right.
So Joe doesn't know it. I really don't like it when we have to narrow these things down to the most, because it's like, but hopefully we never have to go to that scenario where we have one.
And this isn't really a end of the world scenario.
Yeah, it's not. It's not at all. But my point is that I decided to focus more on, because I'm a very serious hunter, I'm going to add the most versatile hunting rifle, which kind of spills over into A to Z most versatile as well, believe it or not. But I'll cut to the chase. I decided to go to a 30-06 bolt action. In the old days, we would have called them featherweights and so forth, but starting right weight at about 6.5 or 6 3/4 pounds. This is a Ruger M77 Mark II, and I threw in another rifle just for fun, a Winchester 364 Model 70 featherweight 30-06. Both of them very similar rifles in many ways. They're both control round feed, ultra reliable, 22-inch barrels, and you're not going to have these guns break on you. So that to me is a huge factor in versatility. But the reason I chose these is chose the 06 particularly is that it's a capable 1,000-yard target cartridge. It doesn't do any one thing the best. There's other cartridges that are far better at specific tasks, individual things. But the 06 is incredibly versatile, and let's start with the fact that it was, of course, designed,
120 years ago.
Yeah, virtually 120 years ago, and it's still relevant today. It gives long barrel life. It gives respectable velocities. It's extremely reliable on deer, elk, game of that size. I can feel completely at home going and shooting at an antelope at 500 yards with a 30-06 with my hand loads and a good long-range bullet. I can also put in a really heavily constructed big game bullet and go hunt moose, even brown bear, and I would not feel it would be less than ideal on brown bear, absolutely. But can I kill brown bear with it? Absolutely. So, but again, it comes down to the load, the bullet particularly, but being a hand loader, that's part of its versatility. Is I can put in a good Barnes Triple Shock X that's known for deep penetration, or nozzle partition or something, and go shoot moose and brown bear all day long, and I can kill them reliably with one shot. Same token, I can throw this weight of a rifle on my shoulder and have what is everybody seems to have forgotten existed, a perfect mountain rifle. It's maybe even a little bit heavy. You could actually put on a synthetic stock and some things to maybe lighten it up, but it wouldn't be so heavy that you can go chase the sheep in the Salmon River country, steep mountainous country, and not have too heavy of a rifle. Of course, I think I mentioned this, incredibly long barrel life. There's guns out there with many, many thousands of rounds through them, still shooting respectable. And this is something we touched on in our handguns video that I think dropped a week or two ago, or is planned to. It's being filmed today as well. But is that ammunition is readily available the world over. From a hunting standpoint, that's huge to me, because I've traveled enough the world hunting that guns have been lost, ammo's been separated. You can't ship them in the same container, and so you get where you're going, and all of a sudden no ammo or whatever, and it's like, I can go to South Africa, I can end up in Europe somewhere, I can go to Alaska, whatever. I can find 30-06. And if there's no store, somebody knows somebody that's got some. So,
and it's an interesting fact, because 30-06 is still a widely popular gun. A lot of people own 30-06s, and yet you go into like modern gun stores, and how many 30-06 rifles can you find on the shelf for sale? Not many. Almost, there's very few shops that
It's kind
carry a lot
of
of
a
30-06.
dying cartridge that way.
Well, but they have 20 different kinds of ammo for it, and yet they don't have the. And it's like, man, I think that there's people missing sales by not carrying 30-06 rifles.
Well, and they're following the trends of the 7mm back
And the
300
6.5
PRC.
Creedmoor.
Yeah, the 6.5 Creedmoor, 6.5 PRC, all great cartridges, but the old .6 does things so well. And I have to say something too when it comes to, you know, the real trend has been like 6.5 PRC or cartridges like that. And I have to say the .6 with a 200 or 220 grain bullet, you know, premium bullet designed specifically for deep penetration. I'm sorry, but it works. That works better on moose and large game, brown bear, and other things than anything than the smaller calibers. It's just it's a law of physics. And talk to any Alaskan guide about that; they'll tell you the same thing. So it's again, it's less than ideal in very much every category of choosing a rifle cartridge. There's other cartridges that absolutely perform better, but it's extremely versatile and of course modern bullets have really helped it even more. Like the long range bullets, you know, try the Horn of the ELDXs for long range shooting and so forth. But there's modern bullets have definitely helped it even become more modern, better. And then somebody's going to say, well, what's wrong with the 308 for this application? That would be a great choice as well, but it's loaded to higher pressures. By the time you load the 30-06 to similar pressures, it's got a definite ballistic advantage, but it also has an advantage with heavier bullets. And the 308 suffers a little with heavier bullets. It doesn't have the capacity, the case capacity, and so that's where the 06 definitely has an edge. So there's my choice. Oh, I forgot to mention, being a hand loader, I can load this down to subsonic levels and cast bullets, and I can go out and shoot rabbits and small game with it. And it does it very well. So that's another versatility. Many of the old timers, Townsend Whalen, famous old gun writer for the younger generation, he often used light loads for small game in his primary big game hunting rifles, and he was very well known for going into wilderness for weeks and months on end and hunting with a single rifle. And in his words, he says the 30-06 is never a mistake, and that kind of sums it up. It's like it just works. So there you
There's
go.
a reason it's still around today. You know?
Oh yeah.
Some of these new calibers, you know, they come out and then they die off within a few years because they're just not.
A flash in the pan.
Yeah, they're a flash in the pan, and yet
Yeah.
30-06 has been a staple for a long time.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I bring up the question: why don't more modern gun shops carry 30-06 rifles? You know, because they're still being made by manufacturers, and yet they're hard to find.
Well, what's going on is you have the new like 300 PRC, so to speak. That's brand new. Everyone's wanting it. I mean, it's not really brand new, but you know,
It's relatively new.
relatively
Really,
new.
yeah.
Everyone, oh, that's the next best thing, and it's like, well, yes, it is very good at long range work, very efficient on its powder burn and accuracy, and so on and so forth. Yes, but you know, still nothing wrong with 30-06. I have one, and I still enjoy it. And so when you have like if you take a 30-06 like that, you have a 22, 24-inch barrel, whatever size barrel you have, and as long as it's set up correctly the way you want it, how much more of an edge are you going to get with a 300 PRC? If you have a load that's working in your 30-06, there's no reason why it can't be more or less just as accurate as a 300 PRC. So,
Well, the thing is, if I can drop deer and antelope all day long at 500 yards with an 06, do you really need more range? You know, it's like,
I think there's a certain ethics, you know, in hunting
Right.
that distances get. There's too much of a question, and
right?
we need better hunters and not better shooters.
We do. We do.
You think about it. How many old photos from the 20s and 30s and 40s do you see of some guy that has 3 bucks lined up there that he shot, and he's holding a 30-30?
yeah,
And they're big monster, you know, world-class bucks, and he's got a 30-30 sitting there, and it's like, you know, we need better hunters in America. We get tired of these people that are these tactical pieces of shit people that sit there and shoot these deer and elk at 1,000, 1,200 yards, and yeah, okay, great, you can do it, but how many of them did you wound to get that shot? You know, and they don't ever want to admit it. So it's like, quit
Yeah,
shooting.
they don't show you their goofs.
Exactly.
And
They don't want you to know how many goofs they've made. And also another aspect of that is I'm not going to name them by name, but they're out there. And those guys are like advertising this, and it's like, yeah, great, but the average shooter isn't shooting 2,000 or 3,000 rounds to their rifle to figure it out throughout the year. They're going out and they're buying 2 or 3 boxes of ammo. They might shoot a full box before they go hunting. And you're sitting there telling them, oh yeah, this is totally doable with our rifle. No, it's not. Because you as a shooter didn't go out and do all the extra work and practice throughout the year to figure it out.
Well, and the other aspect is shooting an animal at 1,200 yards isn't hunting. That's just
shooting.
That's
shooting.
There's zero hunting involved,
Yeah, you went out, you glassed it up. Oh, there it is at 2 miles. If we make it over to this ridge, the animal doesn't even know I'm there, so to speak, and I'm going to shoot it at a mile. And it's like, okay, great.
That's what still targets are for.
That's what I think. That's why I think every hunter should bow hunt at least for one season.
Or handgun hunt.
Or handgun hunt. Or muzzleloader or something, just to get yourself
honed in.
Well, there's advantages to that because archery and muzzleloader hunting usually have different seasons than regular rifles. So you get out there, there's usually less people, but it also makes you work a little harder because you've got to get closer and you got to be better, and it helps. When you go back to a rifle, suddenly it's like, oh wow, this 2 or 3 or 400 yard shot is really easy now, and it just kind of makes it, in my opinion, it makes you a better hunter hunting in different ways.
I'm an old handgun hunter, and that's when these guys are talking about, I got to kill my elk at 800 or 900 yards. It's like, why?
Why?
Really, learn how to read the wind and look at the terrain and figure out the best way to get up close on them. And become a better hunter. The Indians, the Native Americans, that really laugh at the modern hunters. They're really not hunters. The Native American
arrows.
The Native American was a serious hunter. I mean, they knew how to hunt. But yeah, so yeah,
I get tired of these modern ethics of shooters, and they have zero ethics, and they think that and I'm not saying that some guys aren't good shots and can't shoot long range, but how about you become a better hunter and get closer?
Anyways, we're off topic a little bit here. Yeah, good points, but yeah, let's get back on topic.
Joe's like, next time you're going last, Dad.
Yeah. This wasn't as bad as the one we just did. Which one was that? Anyways.
All right, Joe, your turn.
Okay, so to me, versatility in a rifle comes to, okay, can I use it for personal defense and can I hunt with it? And so I chose the AR-15 because they're everywhere, they're easy to get, they're easy to work on, they're simple to operate, and you can use them for any kind of a combat scenario, whether it's close quarters or longer range, up to 500, 600, 700 yards, and you can hunt deer and other game with it if you needed it for a hunting rifle. I wouldn't typically take one hunting deer, but if you had to, you could, and so that adds versatility in that aspect. There are a couple of things over a bolt rifle that the AR-15 has, and vice versa. So a bolt rifle in a defensive scenario, especially if there's multiple attackers, isn't gonna cut. It's slow, yeah. In a hunting scenario, a bolt rifle is better in that it doesn't auto-load for you. You can shoot and bang, there's one empty case in your chamber, whereas an auto-loader automatically loads for you, so if you want to clear your chamber, you've got to take your magazine out and then clear the chamber. But that being said, that's not a big deal to do. But yeah, and 5.56 ammo availability is everywhere. Barrel lengths and barrel quality, there's tons of different barrels out there. You can get an AR-15 and set it up specifically for longer range shooting if you wanted to use it as a dedicated varmint or deer rifle. You just obviously have to check with your local laws on capacity and hunting. But in a survival scenario, an AR-15 would do really well. I mentioned they're easy to work on. I've got enough parts to rebuild any AR I need to, as far as missing parts or broken parts. But yeah, in my opinion, the AR-15 is extremely versatile, and because they're so popular, ammo's everywhere, parts are everywhere, magazines are everywhere. You can mount them with, this Geisley here has a red dot and a magnifier on it, which is a good option for the defensive side of things. You could still use that in a 4-power scenario as a hunting rifle. In my opinion, an LPVO similar to this Trijicon Credo would be a better option if you wanted to be the widest range of versatility. You can get those from 1 to 8, 1 to 6, 1 to 10 power, and then if you wanted to bump it up and do a 2 to 12 or a 4 to 16, something like that, you could do pretty much any scope option you want. If you go that route and you still needed a closer quarters defensive deal, you could put, like this BCM here, I have an offset iron sight on there, so you don't have to use the scope. You could also get an offset red dot, so you could have a scope and a red dot all in one setup. So you could still get those longer range targets, but also transition to closer quarters things. Yeah, to me that's the most versatile and best all-purpose rifle on the market.
You're wrong.
Has to work on brown bear.
I don't live in brown bear country, so I'm fine. But it could. I got 30 rounds, and if you're hitting them, I mean,
I don't have to carry spare parts for mine. Joe was saying he's got tons of spare parts to work on them. It's like,
well,
I don't have
mean,
to do that.
you can go 5,000 rounds in this without breaking anything, you know, and you could go, in a quality gun, you'll go 10 to 15,000 before you got to replace anything. So
that's a lot of shooting.
I know,
that's
Joe,
a lot. That's a lot of rounds.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
But that's an added point in that.
The 5.56 cartridge is very limited with hunting. Like,
yeah, but you know, deer and game in a survival scenario, you're going to be fine.
I know.
It is.
Well,
And with the right bullet, you're
with
gonna
the
be
right
okay.
bullet, if your gun works with the right bullet.
Yeah, but you can still use it as a single shot if that's the case.
Yeah, you
It
could.
doesn't have to automatically cycle for you. But,
I'm just being the devil's advocate here.
well, and in that scenario too, yeah, but you could load up whatever bullets you want, and then if you wanted to go that route, you could add an adjustable gas block, and you could quickly and easily adjust it to whatever load you're shooting through
Sounds
it, so
like
it's
a
still
lot
going
of
to
work
cycle.
for one versatile gun.
Well, but it's easy. All you do, I mean, you can get like a rifle speed adjustable gas block.
He's getting your goat, Joe.
Yeah, I know, but it's adding to the value because I can explain a little more, you know. And there's a number of ways to make that gun cycle with whatever ammo you're putting through it. So,
or just pick a better gun.
Bolt action 223, and it cycles with any ammo you put in.
But then in a home defense or a defensive scenario, you're kind of done for,
Yeah.
especially if you're in an urban environment. See,
Yeah.
and that's a point I want to make too, is where you live can determine what your best all-purpose rifle is. You know, like Dad, he's out in the country, rarely in an urban environment, and so a bolt action in that scenario is a great gun to have with you. Where I'm, you know, and I don't believe in truck guns unless you're out in the country, but if you're in an urban area, you shouldn't have a truck gun. So, but a AR-15 in an urban environment is much more, it's a way better choice than a bolt rifle.
Well,
you know,
it is.
especially if
And last time Dad needed a self-defense weapon, he probably just needed steel-toed boots.
steel-toed boots.
Kick that homeless guy in the head.
Dad got harassed by a homeless guy the other day.
I was at a farm store of all places. It's in a town in Oregon that they've legalized drugs in Oregon and backed off at some now, but it's just destroyed that state. And I don't want to get into that as a politics angle, but it's just sad that we live in a nation that where people get their thrill on abusing themselves with drugs. But anyway, guy, it was bizarre because he wanted to restack a load of hay I had because he said it was unsafe. It's like, no, I'm fine, I'm good. And he got very aggressive and had to deal with that. Anyway, that's just
Deal with it by kicking him in the nards.
Anyways, on to the next.
All right, Jake, your turn. Okay, well, for mine, I again, like the handgun video, the most versatile and what I actually would prefer as my last rifle, if I can only pick one, you know, we're kind of different things. For the most part, I like a lever action rifle just for versatility, and I've got a couple of 45 Colt lever actions. I got this 1860 Henry, and I've got a 73 Winchester, both in 45 Colt. Very versatile, but they're not the most versatile rifle, I would say. And a lot of that has to do with the action. They're very picky about overall length with bullets, so you're very limited on bullet choices. Like these guns here, they won't really work with Keith style bullets. You're kind of limited to 250 grainers, or I guess you could go a little
maybe down to 200 grain bullets, but you'd have to make sure the overall length is right. And then action strength, not the strongest action, but I do have two of these. I got the Henry and the 73 Winchester. Both of them are loaded, and I've got them, as basically my home defense rifles. And for that application, they're very hard to beat. But with that being said, for the video, most versatile rifle. And again, those are great 100 yards, maybe up to 200.
They got really dialed in with it.
Yeah, if you're really dialed in, 45 Colt at that range trajectory starts to get pretty steep. So they can be useful for hunting certain game animals, but again, you're kind of limited by action strength and range. But if you really wanted the most versatile rifle, again, I really like lever action. I think they're just a very versatile for personal protection, home defense, dealing with varmints, hunting, kind of all around. And a rifle like the 95 Winchester kind of checks all the boxes. This one's
plus the cool factor.
Yeah, exactly. And it's this one's a modern made one by Moroku for Winchester. This one's chambered in 30-06, saddle ring carbine, and it's hard to beat something like this. Now, again, most self-defense scenarios, it'd be nicer to have more rounds than this. I think this one holds 5. My other guns, 10 and 13, so it'd be nicer to have more rounds on tap than just 4 or 5. But again, you're not really. You can cycle lever action very fast, so
4 or 5.
Yeah, and so it can certainly serve in the self-defense protection role. But 30-06 in a lever action, this thing packs really easy, and if you're good with iron sights, making hunting shots out to 300, 400, 500 yards shouldn't be an issue if you're practiced up with it. So yeah, and reliability. The Winchesters. Joe's in there talking about rebuilding his guns and stuff, and and you can have a Winchester that's
100 years old.
100 years, yeah, 100 years old. That's been has 0 finish left on it, and it's still working fine. So
I got to insert, Jake, before you finish. I threw in we did not know what each other was bringing to this, by the way, but I actually found out by chance that Jake was bringing this 95. We've talked about this in the past, but I threw in a 1962 Winchester catalog, and if you look at the front cover, and of course do the fold out on it, it's got a picture of Rangers on there, and all of them but one are holding 95 Winchester rifles, or carbines, I should say. And the introduction of this catalog is pretty interesting. I can't read you the whole thing because of political incorrectness. Not my words, it's Winchester's words in 1962. But I can get this first page open here.
Go ahead and just read it, Dad. Who cares about political correctness?
Yeah, I think you can read that.
No, it's not needed. So it says, back around the tail end of the 1800s, the lawman generally had 3 fixtures: large mustache and badge, mustache, and a Winchester. And so it says, yet in this rare photograph, we see Texas Rangers, a Texas Ranger, the 5th from the right, holding what seems to be a Craig, meaning a 30-40 Craig rifle. And what's interesting about that is that when this catalog came out, there was still 2 surviving Arizona Rangers. And they looked at that and they said, those aren't Texas Rangers, those are Arizona Rangers. They were in effect from about 1901 till 1909, an 8-year period, and they played a very, very critical role in the settling of Arizona frontier and helping it into statehood. And my grandfather, Joe Pierce, actually wore badge number 13 after the ranger that wore it got into a shootout with the Smith gang and was killed. And then they gave him that badge, and he took the place. So it was taken of. He joined about the same time this photo was taken of these Rangers, but these were Arizona Rangers and not Texas Rangers that the catalog states. So the family's always kind of had a soft spot for the Model 95 Winchester in in carbine 3040 Craig. The originals that they were using were 30 US or 3040 Craig, but of course this one Jake's referring to is 30-06, which was an original caliber by Winchester, by the way. So,
Yeah, and the 95, of course, they offered them in a whole plethora of calibers. 303 British is another good one. 405,
Yeah.
of course,
Teddy-
is a
Teddy Roosevelt's favorite.
Yeah, his big medicine, I guess, is what he called it.
Yeah, he liked it on Lions.
Yeah.
Which ballistically, most people don't think of it this way. Ballistically, it was identical to a modern 444 Marlin.
Yeah.
300 grain bullet at 2200.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, anyways. So that's what, anyways, I'm going to put the S on there.
Yeah. Anyways. Yeah, for all those,
I reminded my sons.
The grammar police.
Yeah, the grammar police. And it's actually grammatically correct to say
They use it in speech, but not in formal writing.
Yeah.
We looked it up.
So anyways.
My sons.
You know why we say that, though? Because growing up, we watched Nacho Libre with Jack Black when it first came out, like 2006 or 7. And in there, Nacho's like transitional word he always says is "so anyways." So we've said that ever since. So anyways.
All right.
So anyways, let's get down to the nitty gritty.
My pick, 444 Marlin. This is my own personal gun. I haven't really killed very much stuff with it. I haven't used it very much, but I'm going to start using it more. Obviously, nowadays, the big craze cartridge is the 4570. 444 Marlin basically is a scaled down version of the 4570, more or less. I mean, obviously, a whole different cartridge, but it's just to put it in perspective. And it can be loaded up very, very, very good. I would not feel underpowered taking this to Alaska, Africa, pretty much anywhere in the world and shooting anything in the world with it. I wouldn't feel underpowered. Anyways.
Emphasize the right bullets. 3 to 330 grainers at 2200.
I can download it using special powders and lighter grain bullets and shoot it very pleasantly for smaller game. I can upload it and kill elephants. And obviously, like any cartridge, you have to use the right darn bullet. This one, I'm probably gonna do a couple of things to it down the road here soon. I wouldn't mind threading the barrel for special applications, and then I want to put on more of a Picatinny style plate back here with the Skinner sight still. And that way I can put on a scope and just more versatile that way. But yeah, this gun, you can carry it on horseback. You can shoot anything you want to with it and not have an issue. Obviously, for a lot of deer and elk applications, people would say, well, yeah, but 300 or 400 yard shots are going to get a little harder. Well, that's true. But maybe become a better hunter, Ever hear of that? So, that's my thing is like, I don't remember the last time I had to shoot a big game animal at long range because, I'd rather just get a little closer and make it a little more challenging. I mean, I've shot deer and stuff with handguns. I've shot bears with handguns, and so getting a little closer is not an issue to me. I think that we need people to actually worry about, you're taking an animal's life, which, that's kind of, I don't want to call it a sacred thing, but, be fair to the animal. So,
yeah, respect them.
Yeah, respect them, be fair to them.
Well, we were talking earlier about the long range shooting and that, and the bad part is, I've seen so many animals wounded, and the people don't make any real effort to go trail them and track them down, which they can travel miles and miles and miles wounded. Yeah. And and it's like that's really unfair to them.
And to put it in perspective, this last October, we're filming this, beginning part of November. This last October, I went out and I hunted 3 days, pretty hard. I hiked just shy of 50 miles in 3 days on foot, and the third day I went out, I was hitting a old logging road that's supposed to be shut down to all motorized vehicles. You're supposed to either hike or use a horse. Okay, that's the rules of that area. And some piece of shit came through, and he took the fence that was supposed to be blocking the road, and he tore it down, pulled it out of the way, and drove through on his four-wheeler. And it really pissed me off, because I thought, you know, I'm out here hiking and hunting in this specific area. You know, I seen deer, I seen elk. Joe went with me. We saw, you know, a nice little herd of bachelor bulls. We saw some deer. I knew the rut was starting to come on, and so for deer specifically. And so, you know, I was hitting that area really consistent, because, you know, it's a pretty big square mileage of area that is, you know, shut down, and it keeps people from just driving through on the four-wheeler and scaring out all the game. So it makes you actually have to work for it. And, you know, it just really pissed me off when I saw some yahoo do that. And I just thought, you know, that's also comes down to hunting. Be willing to get off your stupid side-by-side or your four-wheeler and get out and get your boots on the ground and go out and hike and hunt and actually hunt, you know.
Well, and that's all just part of the ethics of hunting, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And it really comes back to the ethics of hunting with something that is not gonna reach out there a mile and hit something and, you know, maybe wound it, maybe not, maybe kill it, maybe not. I mean, you know, become a better human being, honestly. Yeah. That's my opinion. Become a better human being. Anyways.
Well, one time I was hunting I broke my leg actually, and I'd gone elk hunting. I finally got the doctor to put me a walker on, and I was out hunting. I still was traveling and hiking what I could do, and I shot a pretty good bull that year with it, but with that broken leg in a cast, grew up to my knee. But a fellow hunter had taken a 308, and he was a sheriff of a county, a neighboring county, taken a 308 and wounded an elk, and he had no more idea how to track that animal than man in the moon.
Yep.
I wound up, I mean, I had serious injuries inside where that cast was rubbing me on the front of my leg, but the mutual friend said, Brian, we really need help tracking this thing. And so I tracked that thing for literally, I don't know, it's hard to guesstimate distances when you're out doing that, but it was literally 2 or 3 miles. We finally got up on it and killed it. But it's like, if I hadn't been there, he would have never made any effort to have tracked it. And it comes back to the point I'm trying to make is that when that trigger breaks, things can happen. And at extreme long ranges, more things can happen. An animal can move from the time that bullet gets launched. An animal can move.
You're literally dealing with 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 seconds, depending on caliber and everything else.
And distance.
And a lot changes.
And it's like, you know, just make an honest stalk and be fair to that animal. Take them cleanly. Now things can happen, and maybe you need a follow-up shot. And occasionally you're gonna have to track something, but as long as you eliminate as many variables as you can.
I view the long-range ethics of stuff. That's a varmint thing. Shoot prairie dogs, shoot coyotes. Shoot stuff like that. That's totally, in my opinion, ethical, because, you know, you're using a light frangible bullet hitting a coyote. I mean, you're going to tear them up really hard, and, you know, they're probably not going to live anyways. But, you know, especially comes to the big game animals, use better ethics, you know. Personal opinion. But, you know, that's where I look at a 444 marlin like this. I could take it to Africa. I could take it to Alaska. I can pack it on my horse. And, yeah, you know, 300 yards is probably stretching a little bit, you know. I mean, if I was practiced up good with it, you know, 300 yards is pretty easy. But how much further do you have to shoot? And
yeah, I'll tell you something else. Fill the case with Trail Boss and put a 240 or 250 grain cast bullet in there. And Abby, your 7-year-old, can shoot it.
Yeah,
it's a ball. It's actually a lot of fun.
Very pleasant. And so, you know, and then also home defense. I mean, I sure as hell wouldn't want to get shot with one of these. And you got, you know, a few rounds in there and put it next to your bedposts. Easy acquisition, lever gun, like Jake had already mentioned. Just very versatile that way. So that's my personal opinion on it. I was going to go with the 30-06, but I thought, you know, the problem is then all of a sudden you say, okay, well, home defense and stuff, it's probably a little lacking, especially set up while Dad is talking there. If you have iron sights, not so much. but that was my thought process.
So I got to insert one thing, Port. I've shot a lot of game actually with the 444, but using that 270 Spear Gold Dot hand loaders, this will be of interest to you. Other people maybe not so much, but using the 270 Spear Gold Dot, which is a bonded bullet, pushed at 2300 out of my own personal
Makes
rifle.
stuff go kablooey, doesn't it?
I was shooting white-tailed deer with that thing in the south, and I'm going to tell you what, I've rarely have I ever seen other cartridges hit those deer as hard as that load did. Those deer, it hit them, and it just shut them down, and they just hit the ground. Usually, it doesn't matter if you're using a 30-06 or a 338 or a 270. They're going to run 30, 40 yards and then pile up. But that thing would hit their nervous system so hard that most of them would just drop right there.
They couldn't even
and there'd
move.
be kicking in the back leg, and it was over. It just shut them down.
Yep.
That was a deer killing load. But
Yep. Well, and anyways, I just personally, I really, I prefer ethics over the kill, so to speak. Use good ethics, know your gun, know your load, and anyways, that's my probably my
Another big tangent on the ethics of hunting. We got on 2 of those in this video.
Yeah, I know. But
today.
I think it can't be stressed enough.
All right. Anyways, on to the end of the video here. I think it's time to wrap up unless anybody else has something to add.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks for watching, guys. Let us know in the comments what your choice is for the most versatile rifle. And if you haven't watched our most versatile handgun video yet, go watch that. Came out a week or 2 ago. So thanks for watching. Make sure and like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.